Calaroga Shark Media.
Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. It's still slow enough that even I am begging Adam Sandler, please release your movie and do some press so we have stuff to talk about. But I do want to thank Craig Robinson, who's kept it busy enough this week. We'll talk about Craig in a couple minutes. Let's start with this report out of Late Nighter and Status.com. Oliver Darcy, a media reporter, suggesting that the merger between Skydance and Paramount could mean trouble for Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart. This is pretty interesting. Darcy revealed that the deal is expected to close in a few weeks, and conversations are already happening behind the scenes about what might happen with the company and who might no longer fit in. Darcy writes that inside certain power circles, there's an open question: how much longer will Stewart have the platform? One media insider reportedly told Darcy, what better gift could they give Trump than to get rid of Colbert and Stewart? I can't. Well, we live in crazy times. I struggle to imagine that happening, especially canceling them both at once. Late Nighter writes, within CBS, there's a growing sense of unease. An insider told Darcy that top talent is grappling with the question, do I want to keep doing this, knowing management won't have my back? They note Stephen Colbert could easily walk away. Sure. But where would Stephen Colbert go? Do you just hold your nose and make? How much does he make? A website called Last Night On thinks Colbert makes around $15 million. Let's assume that's wrong by half. Let's just assume he makes $8 million. I know I didn't do quite half there. It's a lot of money to walk away from. And I don't know where you'd go. In Cincinnati.com, Dennis Doyle writes an opinion piece. I'm not laughing with Dave Chappelle anymore. The jokes aren't worth the harm, Doyle writes. Dave Chappelle insists he's just telling the truth with his comedy, but truth without compassion can sound a lot like contempt. A friend of mine invited me to a Dave Chappelle performance in Yellow Springs. I passed. I didn't know what his routine would be, but I knew I didn't want to hear it. Wait, what? We're reviewing shows we didn't see? That's like me saying Adam Sandler's upcoming Happy Gilmore 2 is terrible. Maybe it's great. Doyle writes, Chappelle is a masterful storyteller and one of the most talented comedians of our time, but his comedy increasingly leaves me uneasy, not because it's edgy, but because it too often reinforces the very prejudices it claims to poke fun at. Skipping ahead, Doyle writes, once more, I see people who likely hold deep biases laughing with a sense of vindication. If Dave Chappelle can say it, they think, so can I. When the joke punches down, the harm hits hard. This isn't about being offended. It's about what comedy does. The best comedy punches up. It challenges power, exposes hypocrisy, and speaks truth. But when it punches down, it can legitimize cruelty and reinforce systems of exclusion. So no, I won't attend the show. I admire Chappelle's genius, but I can't pretend not to see the cost of his notoriety, especially when it's borne by the people who are already fighting to be treated with dignity. We should all ask ourselves when we laugh, who's hurting? From MLB.com, not usually your home for comedy news, they're going to have Nikki Glaser Day at the Cardinals game, Busch Stadium, Monday, September 1st, with the purchase of a special themed ticket. Fans receive an exclusive Nikki Glaser bobblehead, and if you follow bobbleheads, what's shocking about this one is it actually looks like Nikki Glaser. A lot of these bobbleheads are a little sus. This one looks pretty cool. A portion of each ticket sold will be donated to Stray Rescue of St. Louis and St. Louis Avian Rescue. Nice job, Cardinals, MLB, Nikki Glaser. That sounds pretty cool. If I lived anywhere near there, I would go. Stick to sports. Okay. On Monday's episode of the Dan Le Batard Show, Dan wondered about Shane Gillis hosting the ESPYs, which take place Wednesday, July 16th. Le Batard said, I know the ESPYs and award shows and televised appointment viewing is sort of a thing of the past, but it is the biggest thing going right now in comedy. I would assume that people are wondering if Shane Gillis will Norm Macdonald it. I'll come back to that. Whether he'll do anything to make it maximum awkward. He's such a big sports fan that I doubt he'll be anything other than respectful. I doubt he'll go into Norm Macdonald. You may recall one time at the ESPYs, Norm Macdonald said, there's Charles Woodson. How about that? He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. Congratulations, Charles. That's something no one can ever take away from you, unless you kill your wife and waiter, in which case all bets are off. Which is a great joke. I think Shane will just do his affable, goofy, lovable wink at the camera thing. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I suspect the ESPYs numbers will pop. I don't know when the last time I watched the ESPYs has been a zillion years, but with Shane hosting it, I will be sure to tune in. Now, I don't think that airs live. I think they record that and then play it during the All-Star lull. Terry Gilliam of Monty Python fame caught up with the Hollywood Reporter. He's now 84. He was asked if he still feels that humorless activists are stifling comedy. Terry Gilliam said, I think Trump has changed things considerably. He's turned the world upside down. I don't know if people are going to be laughing more, but they're probably less frightened to laugh. Many people have been very timid about telling jokes, making fun of things, because if you tell a joke, then people say you're punching down at somebody. No, you're finding humor in humanity. Gilliam has a new comedy movie, The Carnival at the End of the Days, which is a satire about Satan trying to stop God from wiping out humanity. It lampoons woke culture. Terry Gilliam said about Trump, well, he's effed up the latest film I was working on because it was a satire about the last several years when things were going as they were. He's turned it upside down, so he's killed my movie. Whitney Cummings is a little annoyed at Fox News. They portrayed her as a newfound conservative. She reacted to a Fox segment on Jesse Waters' Primetime. Cummings said, I talked about, now that I'm a mom, I get why conservatives think or talk about certain things. Fox News was like, Whitney, now that she's a mom, is a conservative. Cummings said, I'm too left for the right. I'm too right for the left. I'm like, neither are you going to want me, but I'm used to being an outsider. And on to the Craig Robinson thing. Craig, man, lame, so lame. It turns out Craig Robinson has not quit comedy after all. It is indeed, as I said yesterday, all a stunt to promote cell phone company commercials. In the cell phone company commercials, Craig Robinson, who has not quit comedy, is reunited with Office castmates Ellie Kemper, Angela Kinsey, Creed Bratton, and Oscar Nunez. In the first commercial, Craig Robinson pitches his new team of business partners on a new AI alarm clock that he calls Craig with CRAIG. And I hope it was worth it, Craig. Let's stop off at Gossip Corner. Once again, Pete Davidson. He was at the Prospector Theater in Connecticut. He went to see F1. Pete took a picture with staff members at the theater and learned about its mission of meaningful employment for people with disabilities. The nonprofit movie theater celebrated its 10th anniversary last year. I thought this was interesting. This is sdccblog.com, so San Diego Comic-Con blog. And I noticed in the autograph session some familiar names. Let's take a look at who's in booth number 4945. That's right, it's Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias. You got your wallet ready? Love the Fluffy man, but all right. An 8x10 autograph, $70. A signed Funko Pop, $110. An autograph on a premium item like a jersey or a Topps card, $110. $70 for a selfie. A duo selfie with Joe Coy, $200. We are told, please note, Mr. Iglesias does not sign the fluffy gold diamond Funko Pop. Please take this into account when deciding which items you're bringing to the signing. He'll be at Comic-Con Saturday, July 26th, 11 to 6, and Sunday, 10 to 4. Now, he's in booth 4945. You know who else is in that booth? That's right, Joe Coy, who once made a joke about Taylor Swift. Do you want to hear it? No, I'm not doing that today. You guys got tired of the bit. I'm not doing it. Joe Coy pricing, 8x10, $70. Funko Pop, $80. Jerseys, $110. Selfie, $70. Duo selfie with Joe Coy. I think they mean with Gabe, $200. He's at the booth at the same time as Gabriel Iglesias. Why are they at Comic-Con? I don't know either. I worked with the Comic-Con folks a few years in a row. It's probably 10 plus years. You know, it's definitely more than a decade ago. Cool people. I'm still in touch with some of them. The Nantucket Comedy Festival kicks off tonight. It's the Women's Night of Comedy at the Dreamland Theater, featuring Ariel Elias, Gina Brillin, and Mia Jackson. Friday night, Canadian comedians, Aaron Berg, Ian Bagg, Ophira Eisenberg. Saturday, it is the comedy battle of the summer, Boston versus New York. Let's see, without even thinking about it, would you take current Boston or current New York? So many New Yorkers have gone down to Austin. You might have to take, I don't know, it's a tough one. Let's look at the lineups before we decide. ESPN legend Bob Lee will serve as the referee for the showdown. Representing Boston, Drew Dunn, John Fish, and Justin McKinney. Team New York, Brian Scott McFadden, Paul Ollinger, and Ted Alexandro. So not exactly the all-stars of Boston or New York. I mean, can we do like Bill Burr versus Dave Attell? Wouldn't that be good? Little Dane Cook versus Jerry Seinfeld? Come on, let's get this going as a pay-per-view. This is a great idea. NantucketComedy.com. And that is your comedy news for today. Back tomorrow with something. I'm laughing because normally I have the calendar half filled out for most days. Right now, let's see. Right now I have 0 items for Friday, and I've got 2, 3 for Saturday, and 2 for Sunday. That behind the scenes, my friends, a little light. So hopefully Dave Chappelle gets into it with Rogan or something. Please, guys, hook me up with a controversy. Craig Robinson, do something, will you? All right, that is your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow. And now stick around for this interview.
Our sister, I'm going to bring forward yours and give it to you now. And he said, oh, wow, that's great. Thank you. That's so generous of you, Carl. That's great. But his wife, my sister-in-law, went ballistic. She said, this is too much money. This is wrong. I don't want anything to do with it, and stormed out of the room. And I thought, well, that's not what I expected. Oh, my God. So I realized from that this was not an easy thing to do. So I learned a lesson from that, and I knew that I had to do this authentically. I had to do it right. Otherwise, it was not going to work. So that happened. And then the third thing that happened was that I was looking at my financial statements, and I had more money there than I was really using. It was sitting there. I mean, it was growing, making profits and so forth, but it wasn't being used. I wasn't using it for me. I wasn't using it for things that I really cared about, not for my people. So I thought, well, if I have all this money now, why should I wait until I die? Why don't I bring it forward? And then, it was a long process for me to come around to that, but that's what finally started this. And I said, well, I'll do it now.
Let's back up just a bit. Tell us a little bit about your new book. What is The Happiness Experiment?
Well, this is a recording of the real events with real people who I decided that I would bring forward the inheritance, the money I had for them in my will, and made it a prequest. So it was a chunk of money that they were going to get while they were still young enough to enjoy it, and I was still alive to see it happening. So I saw what they were doing. So when I sat down with them, I talked about money and happiness and how one can be connected. I said, look, I'm going to bring this forward and give it to you. But what I want from you is a plan so that you use this money. So it's really a big benefit for you. I don't want this to overwhelm you. And they said, what kind of plan? I said, I want a happiness plan. And they said, a happiness plan? What's that? So nobody seems to have a happiness plan. But it's one of the most important plans you can get. And it doesn't have to be very complex. What is it that makes you happy? What values do you want to pursue? What goals and dreams do you have? And you can pursue them. And so I got them to write a happiness plan. And then when I saw the plan, I gave them all the money all at one time. And so then they took it, and I watched them with their plan. I saw all their plans, what they did, and how they became happier. And so, that had to be written about. So, because I wanted other people to see what they did so that they too could do the same thing.
Which prequest is the most unique one you've come across?
Well, it was a very, very painful and sad story because two dear friends of mine had a beloved daughter, and she was hit head-on by a drunk driver and killed. She happened to be 8 months pregnant at the time, so that killed the granddaughter too, and also their daughter. They were totally, totally wiped out, devastated, and they died emotionally. They had decided that they could never be happy again, that it would be wrong to be happy. They didn't deserve to be happy because their darling daughter had been killed. Tremendously painful, awful, awful story. So they were grieving 6 years later. And I met with them, and I told them how much they had added to my life and how much I was so grateful to them, and that I wanted to express the gratitude. And I put them in my will, and they could accept that. And I said, but I want you to have it now. And they said, oh, no, we can't accept it. They turned it down. Well, we worked. I said, look, I'm leaving it open. So several months later, I think his wife persuaded him to do it, actually, so they said, okay, we'll do it, because if we're going to wait until you die, why not do it now? And they did it. And it wasn't the money, interestingly enough. They said it was the coaching that made the big difference. That changed their mindset from being so negative. We'll never be happy again. We don't deserve to be happy. And the coach turned their thinking, their mindset around and said, look, you can be happy again. And they started to get the mindset of happy people. And now you cannot believe what these people, they're traveling all over the world. They're in Tahiti right now. They climbed Kilimanjaro. These people are loving life. And it was a major change. That is one of the most heartfelt, wonderful results of the and in a sense, she said, the wife said, this prequest saved my life, because we were no longer living. We were dead. And this brought us back to life.
Yeah, I mean, dealing with grief, and many of us have, I have, when you're in those depths, it can be really difficult to find your way out of it. And, often it looks like there isn't a way out of it. And, sometimes you want a map, right? And it looks like this concept could be a good map for you if you're that. It sounds like it was for these folks. I always like to end interviews by asking, is there anything that I didn't ask that I should have?
How can my listeners benefit from this book? What should they do? What would be good for them? And so I'll answer that question. First off, think about happiness. Think about being happiness. You deserve to be happy, and you can be happy, but you have to make it as a choice. I'm going to increase my happiness. Just that, if you make that realistically, I want to, and I'm going to increase my happiness, that choice, and then talk to people about it. Talk to a husband or wife or a girlfriend or a friend, a therapist or coach. Talk to somebody about it and say, look, I made the decision that I want to be happier, and I'd like you to help me create a happiness plan, and then work on it. And it's not that hard, but it is challenging, but it's a wonderful exercise. And if they do it, I guarantee they will increase their happiness. I guarantee it.
Carl Barney is the author, and the book is called The Happiness Experiment, A Revolutionary Way to Increase Happiness. Carl, where can people find the book?
Wherever books are sold, and it's now available for pre-order from Amazon, and they can go to thehappinessexperiment.com, and they can pre-order it there, and I hope they will.
Carl, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. It's been fun.